How's it going, everyone? It's Riley's Red Zone, and welcome to another edition of Weekly NFL Picks. Merry Christmas or happy whatever day you're watching this video, but thank you so much for clicking on this one. If you're new to the channel, each week I try to predict who I think will win each NFL game that week straight up. I will mention spreads for the purpose of who is favored in the matchup, but when it's all said and done, I select who I think will win the game. Now, last week I went 10-6, moving my overall record to 154-86. And as we get towards the end of this season, I do have another guest pick selection this week, as Nick sent me over his selections for the week, so I'm going to be sharing what he had the next week. The goal will be to bring back every guest picker I had on this season to make their final selections and determine who will take home that championship for best guest picker of the year. Didn't quite get as many guests on this year as last year, but maybe next year we'll get back into the quantity, but we certainly had a lot of great picks sent in this year. So with all that being said, let's jump into this week. Now, with me having some extra time and as well the schedule adjusting, not really in the purpose of earliness, but in terms of everything, no games have occurred yet up to this point, so I don't have to recap anything. Here's all my picks before the games actually happen. Christmas Day. Overall, folks, this is a slate that preseason looked incredible. You're talking about teams that were in conference title games, playoff contenders, and such, that all of a sudden doesn't look as good anymore because of injuries. Let's start with the Cowboys and the Commanders. And we're all going to talk about Washington going down to their third-string quarterback. Shout out Josh Johnson. I mean, he is an absolute trivia machine, right, with how many teams he's played for and opportunities. I think it's awesome he still gets to have a shot and go play the game he loves, with how much he's been able to go through in his career. But what's unfortunate is just the injuries that have to occur for that to happen. Here's a game that honestly doesn't matter a ton in the grand scheme because Dallas is no longer in the playoff hunt. I do think they're clearly the better team on paper in this matchup, but the Commanders are a little feisty in terms of really playing good ball. I'm going to go with Dallas. I just don't know, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, if I'm really going to trust a third-string quarterback in a lot of these games. But I think Cowboys will get a little momentum, still end up on an okay year, obviously. As owner Jerry Jones said, perhaps a little below their expectations. But I'm going to go with Dallas there. And then you go to Lions-Vikings, right? This is a matchup that ended last regular season because it was to determine the top spot in, the NFC and who's winning the division, and a big shift there. And this season, it feels weird to say the Lions are not really in control of their own playoff destination. They might not make it, even though I still think they're pretty good at football this year. I don't think they're quite what they were last year. Meanwhile, the Vikings are not close, even though they're fourth in the division and almost 500, which is insane. I mean, they're practically, if they were in the NFC South, they might not even be out of the race yet. But I think it's been a crazy season for Minnesota. I mean, obviously disappointing, but now there's just more and more questions. Like, I think it was obviously with J.J. McCarthy a question mark for quite a while, especially when the whole 9 discourse was going on. And during that stretch where he missed some time, it kind of was like, okay, he statistically was one of the worst quarterbacks that we've ever seen since 2007, Jamarcus Russell. And all of a sudden, he gets a couple games together that he's starting to put it together against Washington and Dallas. You get some hope. You get the first quarter of the Giants game where the one interception he threw was not really his fault, and the fumble was brutal. And so they started getting some momentum. He looked pretty good, and then he gets hurt, and I don't know if he really got hurt on that play or not. It might have been a previous one. But obviously on that play, you can't pump fake a throw like that twice. But either way, I think he was picking up momentum. And now I think the concern for Minnesota is not necessarily his skill set, which is still trying to blossom a little bit. It's going to take some time. But more so, his availability. Is he going to be hurt on the regular? Is this a recurring issue? That is really going to be interesting. I didn't think that was going to be the deterring factor over these last few weeks, especially after the previous 2 weeks he had. It's going to be Max Brosmer on Thursday against Detroit. Long story short. So they're going to get to evaluate him as well. I don't know if at this point JJ's going to come back this season. You hope he does if you're Minnesota, but we just don't know at this point. So I'm going to go with the Lions in this matchup. Once again, just can't bet against the can't bet with the third string quarterback. So then we've got Denver and Kansas City. The Broncos and the Chiefs, and Denver, I think, needs to be the favorite in this matchup and probably will have solid control of it, with the Chiefs having to go to their third string quarterback. It feels so weird with Kansas City not in the mix. But Denver, despite the loss to Jacksonville, is still, I think, a really, really good team. And so I'm going to go with the Broncos in this matchup. Texans and Chargers. This is a game right here as we skip to the Saturday selections. Texans and Chargers, I think, has the makings to be a really good game, right? This is playoff caliber teams. Watching some stuff today, right? CJ Stroud has had some streaks broken against Jim Harbaugh coach teams, even pointing back to college. But in this one, I am going with the Chargers, who I thought would maybe be considered the underdog. They are currently about 1.5 to 2 point favorites, depending on where you're looking at, and they are at home too, so they're given some points. But with how hot Houston is, I think they might be the better team right now. And so I was expecting my Chargers pick to be a little bit of an upset selection. And this just reminded me to share what Nick is selecting. He's been with me up to this point in picking those favorites. I didn't even really bring it up because there wasn't much debate in terms of selections. But here we go. He's going with the Texans on the road, which is considered an underdog selection, but I think they are really on fire right now. I think there's a whole lot of teams that are playing really good football that obviously only a certain amount are going to get to actually have a real chance at the Super Bowl. And these are two teams I would love to see get a shot, but probably only one of them is really going to be playing past divisional round. I mean, really. I'm going to go with Los Angeles at home. Just kind of a gut game, even though I think the Texans are a better team, which is what Nick is selecting. Ravens-Packers, another game that is maybe affected by quarterback health, right? Lamar Jackson is a talented ball player, but is he going to be out? Is it Tyler Huntley? Green Bay, what is the quarterback situation there? At best, it's Jordan Love, but with the concussion kind of being the reasoning, I really kind of doubt that they're going to let him go the next week after that. That just seems to be kind of a standard protocol. And then Malik Willis is banged up too. And he, I think, did all right against Chicago in the time he had, but you don't know if he's ready to go. I think Clayton Tune is their third string, I believe, that was been saying this week. I don't know if they have to go that far off the practice squad. But I'm going to go with the Packers at home. These are two teams that, for the Ravens, they need this one. The Packers pretty much need this one just to secure everything and knock the Lions out of contention. And with that being said, I kind of even these two teams up against each other. So when in doubt, go with the home team. That's my only logic in that one. So I'll take Green Bay. Nick did the same. Now, Tampa Bay and Miami, two Florida contests, and this game is sneaky important. The Bucs really need it to have a shot at going to the playoffs, but they are ice cold as of late. The Dolphins, I don't have a ton of necessarily hope for them, but like maybe there's a shot with Quinn Ewers, and anything else you could get some upside. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay on the road. They are considered favorites. Nick is going with the Dolphins at home. Right now it's a 5 to 5.5 point spread. Tampa being favored. So I'm going with the favorite here, but Nick is going with Miami at home, which I do think could be a sneaky selection. One that I don't see being sneaky, Patriots and Jets. The Patriots, if they are truly a contender, should take care of business in this game, simply put. If they don't, Buffalo might have a clear hold on that AFC East and kind of dominance in the AFC playoffs. The Jets, I just can't really pick right now over many teams, straight up. Nick is also going to go with the Patriots. Just you hope that they can evaluate some players over these last few weeks. That's the best I can say. You never know. Backs against the wall. Maybe you can just pull off an upset here. Same mindset for the Steelers and the Browns here. The Steelers are getting sneaky, folks. I think that they are really starting to get it together, playing some of their best ball. Aaron Rodgers is playing some of his best in a Pittsburgh uniform. DK Metcalf, obviously after last week, whatever happened there, he's going to be out a few weeks with the suspension. They will need him come playoff time. I think the Browns here could be really sneaky in this matchup. I'm actually slightly tempted to almost last second switch here. 3-point spread is, I can't lie, a little bit fascinating. Folks, I've had a lack of upset picks this week when going through that on the fly. I'm going to go with Cleveland. This makes no sense at all, and something's fishy here. That for that reason, and usually when I see something like this, it probably means Pittsburgh's going to cover by more than that. Once again, I just picked straight up who I think will win the game, but this seems like something's up a little bit for some reason. I'm going to go with Cleveland. I think Myles Garrett may break the sack record. I need another upset pick. I can't lie, I only have like 2 or 3 this week. Only one that I really felt confident in. Another one I pretty much flipped just to make it an upset. And so for that reason, I might flip it back to mix it up. But I'll keep it just you got to take some swings at the board. It's never going to be all favorites. And if you can get those upset picks right, it really helps. So I'll go with Cleveland. There's been some upside with Shedeur Sanders at times, but a lot of other players around him. I just did all that talk about Pittsburgh thinking they're a good team, and now I'm going to pick against them. But I'll go with Cleveland. Nick is doing the rational thing and picking the Steelers. We'll see how that all turns out, though. Jaguars, Colts. I want this game to be close. I'm just going to put it like that. This game should be important. The Colts need it to stay in the playoff hunt. But I'll tell you where I'm at with this thing. I just don't get the upside in this game. That here's the thing. The Jaguars are hot right now. It's taken me a lot to buy back into them. I think they're good. The Colts, though, Phillip Rivers played pretty dang well against the 49ers. Just about as well as you could expect, like, in the ceiling of a 44-year-old retired for 5 years quarterback. And it still wasn't enough because of the defense. He put up 27 points relatively quickly in that game, in my opinion, that in most contests that should give you a shot at the end. And there was not a second of that second half where I thought that Indianapolis had a shot in that game, because every time that the Niners got the football, it was going to be a score. And for that purpose, if this game were against the Texans, even in their own division, for example, if it were against some other teams with a little bit lower ceiling of offense, I might like Indianapolis to bounce back. I think Phillip Rivers probably plays well again, but I'm going to go with Jacksonville to be safe here. Nick's doing the same. I think that's the only way to go in this matchup, really, until I see the Colts get a win with Phillip Rivers, which is sad. I'm rooting for him. I think he's shown some good stuff, but I got to go with the Jags. Okay, now Saints and Titans. This is where I want to mention when we get to this point in the video, there are a few games that pretty much effectively mean nothing except for draft positioning, but those I think are the hardest games of the week to actually predict. I'm lost on this one. I have been leaning Saints with Tyler Shugg, who's been playing really, really good football at the quarterback spot for New Orleans. But they're on the road and they're at Tennessee. And this is where my mindset went. When I see something like this, 2 teams that I have ranked pretty low, I think, who's more due for a win, right? If one just won last week, I don't know if they're going to do it again. Well, both these teams won last week. The Saints are on a little bit more of a heater than the Titans. And for that reason, I am going to go with Tennessee. I flipped my pick on this one just within the last about 10 minutes before recording this. That I just was looking at the board. I need some more upsets. The Saints have actually looked pretty competent over the last few weeks, which is great for New Orleans moving forward. Um, with the way things are trending right now, I would not be surprised if they don't pick a quarterback in this year's draft. You go with Shuck another year, and you never know. Maybe you can get more pieces around him or go with the quarterback in the year after if he's not the guy. Tennessee, you know you have the quarterback. What else do you have? Well, I'm going to say they get the win this week, and we'll see how that all shakes up. Nick is going with the Saints, which once again was my pick. This is another one just to diversify our selections as well this week. Seahawks, Panthers. This is one of those where I like the Panthers a lot this season. They're just easy to root for. And of course, they match up with the team I currently have at the top in Seattle. Carolina, I would so badly love to see punch their ticket in a lot of ways. Like, I think that their upside is higher than what the Bucs have been recently in that division as the representative. But I can't pick against the Seahawks. They're heavy favorites, at least in retrospective of everything that we've seen recently and kind of perspective of this week as touchdown favorites. I'm going to take Seattle on the road just because I think there's been some more consistency. I'm not all in on Seattle being the number one team in the league and favored. Like, I don't think they should be Super Bowl favorites right now. But they're playing darn good football, and I have them ranked number one based on what they currently are doing. I'm going to go Seattle. Nick does the same. I think it's going to come down to that last week against Tampa Bay, and we'll see who wins that one for the NFC South for Carolina there. Cardinals-Bengals. This is a sneaky game. But what happened to the Cardinals after, like, Jacoby Brissett has played pretty well. I think he certainly has played up to a bridge starter guy for next year. That's what he's done in Arizona. Like, I even think the Vikings, with JJ's health concerns, or another team that has like health concerns with the quarterback or just needs some competition, I think Jacoby Brissett's the go-to guy if available in any chance. Like, I think even in future opportunities. So, they're interesting. The Bengals can put up a lot of points, and we know that with Joe Burrow. It's going to be about the defense here. These two teams are very similar to me. For that reason, I'm going to go with kind of the better version to me, which is Cincinnati. But gosh, this could go either way. Nick's going Bengals as well. Now, I want to go to this next game, which is maybe the tightest game of the week. And I'm really hesitant to even list one of these teams as an underdog selection, but I'm going to do it. Giants and Raiders. This is another one that does not mean anything in terms of the playoff race, but I think I heard the loser of this game is the number one pick, or it for sure affects it, right? The Giants are just like, I thought I had some hope there a little bit, and obviously with Scatterboo, that was months ago at this point. They were a lot of fun. Now, after watching them against the Vikings last week, I still just don't get a ton of hype. I like Jackson Dart, though. I think that he's their guy for now. If you get the number one pick, that could be interesting to see. But on paper, I like a lot of the young talent on New York, and I think they're going to keep building over these next few weeks. But the Raiders, if they were to have a week to get a win after a monster day from Ashton Genty last week, they kept it close. They're taking on a team with an interim head coach who I have not necessarily seen the buy-in from in New York. Give me the Las Vegas Raiders to get care of business. I'm listing them as the underdog. Okay, they opened as favorites. Looks like on some sites as well right now, they are 1-point favorites, half-point favorite or underdog. Like, this game is so close, folks. I'm going to list the Raiders as the underdog, but it's a coin flip on this game, man. For that reason, Nick is going with New York. Makes a lot of sense, but I'll take the Raiders in this game just because I think they're due, simply put. And I think they could, that would be big for their culture, I think, honestly, to get a win before the season's over. Get another one. Eagles, Bills. We've got some heaters on the final few games of this week. I think when looking at this one, the Eagles aren't all that. I think this year, I think they're still a really good team, but I would like to see them get a little bit more momentum before the postseason if they were to get something rolling. Meanwhile, Buffalo, I think they might be the best team in the AFC right now. They have a shot at it. I think Denver's in that conversation. Jags, the way they're playing. But I think Buffalo is themselves. I'm going to go with Buffalo at home over Philadelphia in that game. Bears 49ers. How about this? By the way, Nick is going with the Bills as well. Bears and 49ers. Now, oh man, this is some popcorn type stuff right here. I am torn in this game. Every time I think the Bears are all in, I just don't quite get the gut feeling to pick them because I just haven't won these games. I think I did pick them over the Packers last week, though, and they got it done in overtime. Heck of a game. But the Niners are hot right now, and it's been hard for me to buy all the way in on them, too. But I think they might be playing some of the best ball in the league. So I'm going to go with San Francisco at home in this game. What I'm just hoping should be a really great contest. It's currently a 3-point spread in the direction of San Francisco. But that's kind of what's going on there. I'm going to go with San Francisco. Nick is as well. And to close it out, we got Rams-Falcons. The Rams, I think, were just dethroned as being that best team in the NFC, right? Losing to the Seahawks just barely, but I personally think they should still be the favorite long term. But right now, I'm going to give some other teams the edge at the moment. The Falcons, I think, are competitive with Kirk at quarterback, but I'm going to go with the Rams in this game to take care of business and close it out. Nick is doing the same. So those are our selections for the week. Thank you very much for watching this video. Best of luck to you in any fantasy matchups as well you got going on. It's championship week in a lot of leagues across the country. So best of luck with that. Enjoy the football viewing. Happy holidays, and we'll see you for the finale next week.